Peace. This is Star with the Star Blooms. Um, my apologies, y'all. I'm in the midst of having a conversation and I can't stop channeling settled in emotions and how we empathically perceive them after we've basically aligned ourselves to a rate of unburying. So sometimes we don't recognize when wounded. I'm hearing so much, y'all. Sometimes we don't recognize when wounded that there's a rate of what it is that we're meant to perceive imbalancing. And the thing is that some things require, if not validation from external rates, internal validation, so there's not an internal war. Which is why a lot of people who are at the rate of assuming without addressing, are even ingesting, are digesting properly what it is that they've previously, I keep on hearing like the Terrans, like your journey, what you've previously walked through. In certain race without acknowledgement, it's as if it hadn't happened. But that's not the rate, which is why the emotions are at a rate of unburying themselves. Sometimes when we don't address certain rates of emotions, we sit within a certain spirit. And sometimes we don't always consider things to be as deep as they are because we may be sitting and resting at a rate of surface in it because we don't want to deal with the depths of it, right? There was a rate of my meditation last night where spirit basically kept channeling to me rates of enough, and how that word in itself, I believe it's a 13-4 word. 5, 5, 6, 3, 7, 8, and that's 16-7. I know it's a karmic. It's a karmic number. I'm not sure exactly what it is right now, y'all. But 1 second, we're gonna figure it out. 252. I was right, y'all. It was it was 16-7, but as I was basically looking it up in my I wrote it down. As I was looking it up, I basically heard there's no need to question. You have to be in trust in. So it's almost like a lot of people aren't aware that certain things that we require are in trust, right? And how it was basically channeled to me is like a rate of an living trust, but it's basically speaking about the body. Now, a lot of people deal with things surfacely, so they may look for something that is tangible. And in body and vessel, in spirit and soul, if they're all aligned, you basically are dealing with something that is physically, but that it goes beyond, right? Sometimes when we get to the rate of actually acquiring what it is that we desire, we're at a rate of perceiving beyond the veil, or recognizing that the veil has been lifted because it's something that we've been in training with, right? But if you're at a situation where you don't want to acknowledge or address a thing because you feel at loss in it, you feel maybe wounded from it, you maybe feel not enough in it, there's this rate of not basically taking the journey that's in rate of the lacking that you may have had in order for you to be on this path that emotes you spiritually, because spiritually you're being spoken to in order for you to incline and in line to yourself at a higher rate. It's not just the thing that you may feel left out in the cold with, but in rates of validation, if you aren't aware of the engagement within spirit, the spirit then basically places this rate of validation trap, right? Which is why I called it an unburying, because even if you allow yourself to be addictive to this space where you are requiring it to basically shush, to quiet itself down, to not be recognized. Or if you're not allowing the tower, I don't know why I'm seeing the tower in my head. If you're not allowing the tower to fall, sometimes you may be in a situation to where you're holding on to a circumstance that was definitely meant to. That is too many cards, Spirit. You're holding on to a situation that was meant to basically run its course, but you're not allowing it to run its course because you're not trying to actually go through the process. The cards that I have right now are the parents, disingenuous, creativity. And I said the rate of the 16-7. If you recognize, if you've ever seen that karmic number, if you know anything about numerology, 16-7 basically houses, if you're a 16-7, life path 7, but you come from that rate of karmic energy, you basically are healing something within your bloodline. And a lot of times it's basically a lot of falsehoods, a lot of people who are extremely pretentious, who show up. Yeah, it's literally, what I'm hearing is like it's literally ricochet within the family, within connections, given access, constantly being set up, showing up as the parent, having to learn how to have race of adaptability and race of wanting to basically petition beyond what a lot of people who you had seen in authority, as you basically being a lot more mature than people who are basically set up to have the answers. Yet I want to get back to the unearthing of the emotions, because that's what I wanted to channel on. If you are at a rate to where you recognize that you previously felt something, but you didn't allow yourself to fully feel in it, or at least address the fact that it's something that was present with you, and you allow yourself to be at this rate of believing that you get to they said high moral rate of value that goes non-crashing. High rate moral value that goes non-crashing. It's like you want things to basically be seen at a certain rate, which is this validation trap. You continue to play it safe, wanting to act as if, you're choosing, the higher ground, believing that you're unlocking something because you're seen morally in this space, but you don't recognize karmically it's going to come back around because you never allowed yourself to live in a space of love, even in the loss that you had with the situation. Because you're so empathic, you feel it coming back up, right? I can't show these cards. Because you're so empathic, you feel it coming back up, right? And you have these rates of intuition that you want to live in, where you're wanting to get beyond the spaces of fear and connect to your soul. However, you have issues with trusting, look at spirit, and integrating properly, all right, into the spaces where you could have this self-acceptance to allow you to ground in your healing so that you could be balanced. Allow yourself to be at a rate to where you fully acknowledge the total sum of what it is that the emotion, the spirit that you've come into engagement with is encouraging you to basically go through at this time. Sometimes we don't recognize that a lot of the things that we're having, especially when we're empathic, aren't ours, okay? It isn't yours. So when you start to get close to yourself and you sit with yourself in race of stillness, you start to be able to recognize, okay, this is me, right? This is my character. This is who I am. My apologies, y'all. This is what I do. This is how I show up. You start to get at this rate of wanting to get beyond the spaces of how you're perceived by others, and you properly digest and perceive yourself. And in that in itself, you have an opportunity to basically build beyond the spaces of where you're dismissing things, wanting to bury them and bypass them, and then not having to go through these rates of being smacked, with certain energies that you didn't take action on because you allowed yourself to be in this comfortable rate in silence while not being integral in your intentions. Release the rate where you want to ignore the thing, thinking that it'll get smaller if you continue to bury it, not recognizing that that's what you're calling and manifesting towards you. Be bold and go towards it, and allow yourself to be honest about it, and know that your safe and calm energy that you're wanting to balance in will allot and unlocking for you, because you face